Goes down to 50 because it was at 75. Step again, step again. We should be at 100. And it drops to 75. What is up, you guys? Welcome to the second episode of How to Make a Horror Game. So I want to let you know that basically what we're doing is we're going to be finishing the hunger aspect of this tutorial, but what you use in this tutorial is really going to be dependent on you, so make sure that you have what you want already in place, or you can come back to this video later. But for example, what I did was I actually used the Tupperware and food pack that I got off of the marketplace, and then I have simply brought in the chicken and the egg in a custom folder called Custom Blueprints, which I'm going to show you how to change these into actors so they can have abilities. But basically, find the items that you want to use, and that's going to be dependent on like what you necessarily want. So if you want something that is more like medieval, that might be totally different than someone who's just basically using like apples or something like that. Take this time to find the ones that you want and then bring them in and watch the second part now. Alright, sweet. Now that you got those items and you put them in, let's get started. So the very first thing I want to actually do is I want to go back and add something to our third person BP. So what happens if I play, if you guys can remember, up here in the top right hand corner, after the 20 seconds, it will be like 75, 25, hunger, and it continues to drop down until the character dies. But what happens is once like it gets to 0, it basically doesn't do anything. So what we are going to do is we're going to drag off this print string, and we are going to want set game paused. And the reason that we are doing that is because when the character is dead and it does the message, yep, you're dead, bro, it's going to pause our functionality and we can't continue to do anything with our character. So let me drop this to like 5 seconds here to make it really quick to just demonstrate it to you guys. So if I just go back and we play, if you continue to watch the top left here, should be getting a message. There we go, 75. And if we just keep going around 50, we keep going around 25. And then if we jump, and once it hits 0, as you can tell, our character is paused in midair and we can't do anything. And so basically when a character starves, this is going to be what happens, and they can't continue to move or do anything. So they either have to restart from a checkpoint, exit the game, whatever that may be. So now that we've got that fixed, let's get back to the food items of things. So go back to where you have the 2 items that you want, and for this example, I'm going to be showing you how to turn these into blueprint actors. So simply click the object, right click, and then if you go to Asset Actions, you can actually create the blueprint. Just select the folder that you want it to be in. First, change the name. So we'll do egg food. And then just simply click OK. And now if we go back, we can see that we now have it as a blueprint class, which is seen with the blue and the little actor icon. And then we'll just do the same thing with the chicken. Asset Actions, create blueprint. Chicken food, back into our blueprints, and then click OK. Awesome. So now that we have that finished, let's go to our event graph. And basically what we're going to do here is we're going to set it so that when the character begins the overlap or walks onto the object, it's going to specifically fire a set of processes that we want them to do. So for instance, if the character walks over it and we give them ability to get 5 hunger back, we are going to put that here. Otherwise, if they walk over the object or they touch the object, it's not going to necessarily fire properly. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to drag off and do cast to third person character. And basically, this is going to be different depending on what template you're using. Of course, because I'm using third person template, it's the third person character. And then just connect other object to the object. So basically, when the character is walking over the overlap for our item, it's going to fire what we have in place here. So now what we're going to do is, as the third person character, drag off and do set hunger. Right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to want to click and drag down and do get hunger. And then for our hunger over here, we're going to want to do a integer plus integer, as you can see here. And so now what this does is if we connect this, our main hunger is going to be added the additional amount that we want for the specific item to be setting our new hunger. So for instance, if they eat the chicken, which is here, and it gives them an additional 25 hunger, that's going to be the original, like let's say it was 50 plus 25, they are now at 75 hunger. So now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to do a check to make sure that the food doesn't go over 100, because then everything's going to be kind of like funky and weird. So basically we're just going to do a branch, and when we do this branch for our condition, we are going to drag off and do a integer, which is greater than integer, and we're going to connect it to this. So basically we're making sure that the food is not going to be greater than the specific set that we have in this condition set. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to make sure that this is set to 100, because we do not want it to be greater than this value, and just bring in and do set hunger and make sure that this is being connected in for our true statement, because if it is true of greater than 100, we're going to do whatever we decide to fire here to prevent this. So now to make sure that this is in place so we don't have to necessarily go any farther, is we could just set the max to a cap of 100. So if it is set to 100, we are going to be good and golden. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to make sure that this statement is being like said. So for instance, if the player gets to a full hunger, they need to not only visualize but maybe possibly even like have an acknowledgement. So if we just drag out and do a string, we could simply make a statement that says like your hunger is full. So if they are engaging in something and they can't necessarily see the bar in the bottom, it's going to be like your hunger is full as they're eating, and so they can't necessarily eat anymore because they're not getting any benefits. So now in order to basically test this, is we just compile and save, and we go back in, and what we're going to want to do is we are going to drag in our chicken BP, and let's actually make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see it better on the tutorial. So maybe if we scale this up to like a big old piece of chicken, and we compile this, come back in, yep, now we can see that a little bit better. So if we play and we wait to the top left to drop down to 75, we can walk over this, and as you can see, nothing is happening. And the problem that we get because we did that is over here in the beginning, we forgot to change the event actor begin overlap to an actual like box collision overlap. So if we just do box collision and we just simply scroll down to on the begin overlap, we have the wrong one here, and we just simply bring this in. And for our other actor, it's going to be our object. And if we connect it, so now if we walk over the collision box itself, which is this item right here, we can scroll up and adjust the size accordingly. So let's make this a little wider and a little longer. And if we compile and go back, you can see that the collision box is there. That was our main issue. And so if we walk and we wait for the food item to drop down 75, we walk up, and you can see it drops back down to the 75. And if we wait, it drops down to 50, and then we go back up and adds, and then we walk away. It goes down to 50 because it was at 75. Step again, we should be at 100. And it drops to 75. So as you can see, it's adding that additional food there. We're just not getting a lot of visuals in place right off the bat because we don't have a HUD system set up effectively to show it visually, just only through the numbers up here on the top left. And we will fix that. I do apologize for completely over skipping the collision box. I'm not sure what I was possibly thinking, just my brain wasn't there or something. But yeah, make sure that that collision box is in place, because if the character does not go within this bounds, it will not activate. So now what we're simply going to want to do is just go back in to our event graph and basically just copy everything that we did. We don't need this event tick. Let's drag this down. Copy everything we just did. Control C and go back and drop it into our egg food. We will now have the same thing, but what we're going to want to do is we're going to change the amount. So if you had multiple different items and you wanted each item to have different things, so like an apple is 10, beef jerky is 5, roast beef dinner is like 100% food, and so on and so on, you can do that. But for this case, we're just going to do 15. And if we compile, we can see here that we are having an error real quick. And why is it? Because once again, we do not have the box collision. We copied the box collision from the chicken. So once again, we are having the dreaded box collision issue. So once again, type in the box, and we will scroll down, and on component begin overlap, we'll just drag that up here and reconnect everything in. Our other actor will now be our object, and if we compile, you can see our error is now gone. And if I actually make this a little bigger so we can see this as well, let's do 5 and 5 and 5. Scale 5 and 5 and 5. We could see that is clearly a big egg. Compile, go back, and bring in that blueprint. If we play in the top left, we're waiting at 75, and if we walk up, we step back, it goes to 65. So that's still happening. And as you can see now, the next thing that we need to overcome and fix is our camera movement issue, which we're looking back on our character for our first person, and we will fix that. So we covered this fix in the previous video. I did this on purpose a second time because there are a lot of times that people overlook this issue, and so I wanted to cover it once again to fix that. So basically what we do is we go back to our third person character, and on our third person character self, you're going to want to use controller rotation yaw. Compile, and then if we play again, you can see that no matter what we're turning in place, we can't look at ourselves. So that is a very, very important detail that you need to pay attention to. Otherwise, you will find yourself stuck in that awkward position. So that's twice now that I've covered that issue, and hopefully that's kind of hit home for you guys. If it continues to be an issue, I'll be gladly to do another follow-up or cover up, but hopefully now that you've seen that twice, you can really make sure that you fix that issue. But other than that, that is how you put in 2 hunger items of different types to basically give you your hunger back based on what you want them to be. I can't be exactly detailed to what you want into your game, so use this as an outline and simply change the things accordingly to what best fits you. Add more nodes, add different unique abilities, different features, anything that might be more simplified. Go ahead and do that. This is just to give you a rough idea. I don't want to hold you guys back, so yeah, I just make sure you're basically not following this verbatim, because that's not fair to you guys. If you follow this tutorial exactly, you're going to end up the same game that I'm doing. Play around, have fun, and I will see you in the 3rd episode.